Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction, the Northwest's only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
Fucking A, baby.
My voice of reason, the beautiful Heather Nixon.
Hello.
And we are always launching ideas in your direction, and we're launching them at LibertyTalk.fm and NWCZ Radio. And we are talking to the host and karaoke guy, my friend, my buddy, Marc Clair. He's the editor-in-chief, producer, co-founder of the website and podcast Lions of Liberty. He's a freelance career in television. He does a karaoke business, and he's here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. It's such a great honor. I welcome Marc Clair.
Woo! Here I am.
Seriously, Marc, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks a ton, man.
Absolutely, man. Having a blast.
Awesome, man. We're actually honored to have you on this show, man. We've been talking online a little bit, but we were talking about the war on drugs and stuff
Johnny,
like that.
we probably shouldn't tell them about our secret chat room. I mean,
No, not the
this is not
drug
the
chat.
forum for this.
Yeah, the drug chat room. But like 81% of all drug arrests are for possession, and the U.S. has the highest prison population in the world. And that's
Land
kind of
free,
sad,
baby. Woo!
Yeah, land of the free, home of the arrested.
Well, it's what we're fighting for all over the world, you know.
I know, freedom.
Got the most people in the freaking world.
Right, Marc. Let's just get to the skinny here, man. What's your opinion on the war on drugs?
End it, end it, end it. It's the biggest affront to humanity that is perpetrated by our government. And I say by our government, but I really should say by our fellow citizens, because in many ways, it's not like the government just sprung these policies up against the will of the populace entirely. Okay. Obviously, a lot of the populace is opposed to it, but I don't know about you. I run into a lot of people that think it's crazy to legalize drugs. So, and I'm pretty sure that's not a mainstream position still. So, you know, it really is. I think this kind of reflects on all of our things in society. I mean, I don't necessarily believe that whatever the government enacts is something that all citizens support, but there is some level of acceptance of these things, or they wouldn't be, allowed to continue, which is why we're seeing the pot legalization movement really spring up, because people are starting to realize, well, hey, it's pot. It's stupid. This is ridiculous. Why are we setting people in jail for this? The challenge is to see if those same people can apply that principle and realize that the same thing that are talking about pot applies to guns, applies to marriage, applies to everything else everyone wants to ban.
Why don't you just get the government out of all the bullshit?
Yes.
That's my opinion.
If you're not hurt, if no one's getting hurt, if there's no victim, there's no crime. And I don't feel that at least the federal government should have any jurisdiction at all when it comes to, regulating anything outside of, well, anything. I don't really want
right on.
too much, to be honest.
Well, I agree with you, man. And I think it's kind of interesting that you bring this up, because the war on drugs, to me, I think it's media that has kind of instilled this voodoo onto the American people. They're thinking like, oh, drugs are so bad. I mean, remember Reefer Madness? Wait, got to do a sound effect on my voice. Reefer Madness. Remember that in the 50s films and shit? Like they compared pot smokers to he might be a pot smoker and a homosexual.
Even more recently, wasn't it like in the 90s there was that commercial with Helen Hunt like jumping out of a window because she like looked at a pot cookie? I mean, that's not the exact that's not exactly how it went down, but the propaganda continues to this day.
I do think it's media though. I mean, unlike all the messages, like remember this is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
All right, this is your brain.
With the egg and the...
Not just thinking like, hey, I want eggs. Like, that's the only thing I can have.
Yeah, like eggs are cool.
Eggs are cool, man. What's wrong with that?
Great. I don't see what the problem is.
I want breakfast, motherfucker. I'm hungry.
Sunny side up. Fantastic.
Right.
No, but the sunny side up was like your brain fine, and then they would scramble them and be like, here's your brain on drugs. I'm like, well, I like scrambled eggs too. So.
There you go. We couldn't make their point.
No, totally. I mean, propaganda is a large part of why people support these laws. Absolutely. And there are certainly certain parties favor drug laws. There's police lobbies. There's judicial lobbies. I mean, how many people make money off the war on drugs?
pretty much a lot of our bureaucracies in the country.
I mean, our police departments could probably be 80% smaller if they weren't running around prosecuting, victimless drug crimes. And therefore, if you go down the line, 80% less judges, 80% less prosecutors,
you know what?
Less prisons.
Hey, Mark, this might be the first time I've ever said this, but in that sense, the government has created a job.
You're so right. They've created millions of jobs, and
Sure.
millions of victims.
What are some ways that a free society could treat the widespread use of hard and addictive drugs, like meth and heroin? Do you think, we need to do something about that as a society? And if we do need to do something about that, do you think the government needs to get involved?
I mean, it all depends on what you mean by we. I think we as in human beings who have compassion for our fellow man.
We as in human beings.
Absolutely. We should have, all sorts of methods, and those methods do exist, and they should be expanded upon. There are all sorts of private people and private organizations that help people that are going through drugs. And if only there weren't spending so many resources throwing people in jail. And look, I don't want the government taxing from us and redistributing our money for this and that project. But if they're doing it anyway, if you're already doing it, I prefer it went to actual drug treatment programs to send people to, or to at least recommend they go to, maybe, instead of throwing them into a cage and saying, now you learned your lesson, didn't you? And then they come out and and now it goes back to the felony thing. They get out. Oh, now they can't get a job. Now they can't buy a gun, and now suddenly they have nothing to do except maybe turn to selling drugs or just using drugs to get an escape from the life that they found themselves back in. And lo and behold, they find themselves back in prison again. And it's this endless cycle that so many people are trapped in due to the fact that we are treating drug use. And I'm not arguing that there is not such a thing as drug abuse. There certainly is. And I know people whose lives have been ruined by drug abuse, but most of the people I know whose lives have been ruined by drug abuse were ruined by their arrest, not necessarily by the actual drugs themselves. But I'm not going to deny people get addicted to heroin or people might overdose on drugs. Of course, that happens all the time. But that does not mean that the solution to that doesn't follow that therefore we should violently assault and throw in a cage anyone who might have this problem.
Well, Mark, I think what we're saying is, like, let's say you have a young guy who's 18, 20 years old or whatever, and he gets involved in drugs. He's experimenting, just like most people do, but he actually gets caught. He goes to jail. He has a criminal record. He can't get work now because he has shitty credit. He's in jail. He has a felony. His whole life is ruined.
It's over.
It's over. He's done.
The system has basically said your only choice is to now be a criminal and live in the sort of the underworld of society. The only way you can really make an honest living is by going back to the black market, going back to selling drugs, or just working off the books for someone maybe. But we're not going to let you actually enter society. We're going to make things as difficult for you as possible.
Well, totally. And totally. And it's kind of the same thing like with employers. And I'm all about the free market, but I'm noticing this is going on, which I don't understand the relevancy to it. But like, if you get hired for a job, they'll make you fill out a credit report. How the fuck does that have anything to do with the job that I want to apply to at Radio Shack? Like, what the fuck?
I have an answer.
Go ahead.
Well, if you are in a large amount of debt, you owe people money, and then you're around money, you might be more tempted to be.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think depending on the job, it could indicate something about yourself. If you're going to be in charge of the books for some company, they probably don't want a guy in charge of his own.
No, I know, but like I'm saying, but I wanted to be the guy who works at yo, man, can I help you find that fucking RCA plug? Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to be that guy at Radio Shack.
Oh, you need a new phone? I got you.
I got you covered, man.
Yo, man, what about these walkie-talkies?
No, I got this really cool case for your phone, bro. It's right in the back, bro. Seriously. Actually,
no, I'm not buying from you. You have terrible credit.
Right. Doesn't make any sense.
300 score. What?
But it's the same thing. It's like, but what if that person who has really bad credit had a really good job, and then all of a sudden he lost his job and he couldn't pay his bills anymore? Now he's fucked too.
No, it's a good point. I mean, that's kind of what happens to look, I do think that dads should support a child if they have one. I mean, but
Sure.
there's a cycle that happens with, they call them deadbeat dads, and there may be truth to that. I'm sure many of them are actually deadbeats, but sometimes a dad can't afford a bill and he misses it, and then the punishment is go to jail. And then now he's like screwed again, because now if you get out of jail, well, now I've been to jail. Now I can't get a job. Now I can't pay my child support. Now I got to go back to jail.
All I'm saying is
they take away your driver's license, so now you can't go to work so that you can pay that bill. Like,
doesn't
what the
make
fuck?
any-
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
If anything, they should buy you a car. Here.
Right. Here.
Right. I'm sure there's some sort of government bullshit on the credit reporting.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. There's usually government bullshit involved in just about everything. So.
Right, but I'm all about it. If a free market business wants to do it, fine. But I'm just saying that, to me, that was one thing I've always noticed, that there's always credit reports on job applications now, which baffles me. But anyway, so most people are worried about legalizing drugs because they are associated with crime.
Some sort of crime.
But Mark, do you think that if we did legalize drugs or decriminalize them, do you think crime would actually go down?
Well, absolutely. And I don't even need to hypothesize. We can look at Colorado. That actually happened.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and look, of course, drugs are associated with crime. They're illegal.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, if you legalize it, there's going to be a lot less crime associated with it because it's no longer going to be a
I'm
criminal
bet-
enterprise. Now,
Violent crime. I meant violent crime.
well,
Excuse me.
Yeah, you mean as in like, you know, somebody
Mafia
gets high
shit.
and
Right.
again, though, that the mafia shit all comes from the fact that it's illegal. The only reason the mafia peddles drugs is because it's illegal. So there's a black market. If guys can buy it at CVS, then you don't need the mafia. I mean, you know, just like booze, they got started bootlegging booze. Now you made it legal. Now they don't bootleg booze anymore. I mean, I don't maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't really hung out with anyone in the mob in a while, but last time I did.
Hey, hang on. I'm gonna make a couple phone calls. I'll find out for you.
Let's take a 2-minute break while Kurt Nelson of his friends.
Kurt Nelson makes a phone call to Vino. Hey, how you doing? What you need? What you got?
We have to insert a skit here.
Insert skit. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. It was,
I know, I
it was
don't
a
know,
joke.
but I got distracted thinking about the whole mobster skit.
Yeah, we all kind of had a visual going in our head. You
in
know.
my head.
Hey,
I'm
look, we have like this drug war going on, right? And then so we have this government. We have this war on drugs. And we've been talking about this war on ideas forever on this show. You really can't declare a war on an idea. It's not there. Like
War on
drugs.
dirt.
War, that's tangible. That's quantifiable.
God, don't.
Don't
Here
go
we
there.
go.
Here we go.
Where's Brother Todd?
Yeah. But like war on terror, war on drugs. Well, I mean, what is a drug? Anything can be a drug. So it's a non-tangible thing. But
Quite
they're saying,
literally, I mean, there's like 50 things like cleaning products in my cabinet right now that I've heard on the internet that you could just inhale.
word on
and
the street, right?
Word on the street that those are drugs.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd to think about just banning substances
Right.
overall.
Well, they actually banned, I don't know if you knew this, but they actually banned Lysol in Canada to Indians. Yeah. Yeah. To Indians.
What do you mean to Indians?
Because Indians will take Lysol, punch a hole through the bottom of the Lysol, mix it in with their orange crush, and they get fucked up. And that's what they'll use to get drunk.
Hold
And
on,
it's
I'm
only
writing this
like-
down. How
and
much
it's-
Lysol and how much?
Yeah, what's the ratio?
I don't know.
Because it's super cheap.
But I think that's also in territories out there in Canada.
So it's only banned on like Indian reservations, but regular folks?
No,
Not
they
that
actually.
Indians aren't
I think
regular.
that's in areas where they don't sell booze, where they actually are getting fucking high and loaded on Lysol.
Similarly to some neighborhoods ban the high octane malt liquor at the mini mart
Right.
here in the States.
Yeah, I hate malt liquor though. That shit
What are
gives you a
those
headache.
states? Because remind me not to go to them.
That's like it's like Oklahoma,
Not that I drink malt liquor at this age, but I would like the right to.
Old English.
Right. Like take the option. Thanks.
Old English
Schlitz.
oh, boy.
Schlitz. Johnny, come
But
on,
like what
man.
I'm getting at it though is like, we have this war on drugs, right? And we have spent all this money into this
war.
all these big government programs and bureaucracies. Have we just wasted money on all of this fucking bullshit on this war on drugs through all this money that we've been spending on this crap?
Depends on who you are. If you're a pharmaceutical company that wants your drugs to be sold to people, if you're selling OxyContin, you might love the war on drugs. You think it's been a rousing success because now all the other stuff, any
Good
other
point.
opiates that you're not producing or THC and that kind of thing, well, that stuff's banned. So they gotta get your product. So maybe it works out for you. Or maybe if you're a Mexican drug cartel, the last thing you want is to see drugs legalized because then your
Absolutely.
business is gone. So there
Right.
are many people that the drug war is working very, very well for. But the average common man is not one of them.
It makes sense though. It's like it goes back to Ron Paul. He had this whole thing. He goes, I'm all for legalizing all drugs. And he was at a Republican convention and all the Republicans, boo.
Yeah.
And then Ron Paul's like, how many of you in the audience would do heroin? And then there was the slow clap. You can hear it.
That was in like the South Carolina
Right.
debate. I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah.
One of the finest Ron Paul moments. They're
I
like,
know.
oh yeah, we wouldn't
Do that. So what do you have to worry about? And I think that's the problem, is I think that individuals can't wrap their head around that people can put whatever they want into their own body.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they should, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't give them reasons or make a case why it's a bad idea to put certain things in your body.
Uh-huh.
It just means don't throw them in a cage if they do.
Sure. But I think people have a hard time wrapping their head around that. And I
They
think
do.
that if they say, oh, this is going to be a law, or legislation, this is
There
going to be
ought to be a law.
legislation because people can't wrap their head around the fact that you can do whatever the fuck you want. Now, as soon as you do something while you're on drugs to my property or my family or my freedom or my personal liberty, now you've committed a crime. But doing the drugs itself is not a crime. And I wish people would just wake the fuck up and get that through their head. You can do whatever you want. If you want to jump from a fucking building, have at it. I will try to talk you down, but if that doesn't work, you're going to jump. Nice
Except
knowing
you might
you.
jump on another person and harm them. So you could argue that could actually be
So throw that
something
person
that might
in
harm
jail.
another person.
Well, okay, well, let's just say it was off a river. And there's
If
no
you- if you
boats
can ask me
coming.
tough questions, I'm going to try to poke holes in you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. Thank
Poke
you.
holes in reason.
I love it.
Yes, if you jump off a building and you hurt someone else in the process, then you should be held accountable.
We're going to see you at the courthouse in 2 weeks. Oh, wait. Actually,
Wait a
you're
minute.
dead.
Wait a
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, but see, you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I think people should be able to do whatever they want to their own body. Period. Even if it's bad. What I think is immoral is necessarily possibly an individual selling poison to somebody. Now that could be illegal. I think there's case for that.
Yeah, I get the point. It's definitely like a different level. Like if you've got a guy who's like literally just profiting off some other dude's heroin addiction, I think this is a point where we can really look at like the structure of how government is, because it should never be a crime for one person to sell something to another person if it's a mutual exchange. At the same time, if we look at how maybe in a perfect quote unquote that free society could be structured, I mean, if you have, or even now, if you have a group of property owners that say have a community and it's all their private property, I absolutely support that community or that group of property owners saying nobody's allowed to sell drugs on this property. And
That's
nobody's
right.
allowed
They have
sell
the right
drugs
to
in
do
this
that.
community. And that's the way it should be done, not by a federal government saying we're going to throw everyone that sells drugs into jail, because that's when you get the 16-year-old kid who's
Right.
just selling crack on the street corner, getting tossed to jail and getting into that cycle. I mean, that's not, I wouldn't support that on sort of a overseeing government level. But in terms of people, enacting rules, I think that's where we need to start differentiating between rules and say like enforcing natural law. Now, there's nothing wrong with people selling things in terms of natural rights. However, if communities want to stop people from doing that because it's their community, their property, then yes, absolutely. And that's the sort of way I think these things would ideally be dealt with. But, we live in
Right.
far from an ideal world.
Good point. Like a homeless guy in front of the 7-Eleven. That store owner has the right to say, get the fuck off my property if you're not going to buy something. Loitering.
Sure. Yeah.
Loitering. I know it's a stupid law, but it kind of does. It's a negative externality for that business.
Well, look, my girlfriend works in retail. She runs a couple stores
Uh-huh.
and in a nice area. One of them's in Malibu. And there are some homeless guys that are vagrants. They'll come and stand outside and harass customers, harass the workers. I mean, they should have every right to tell those people, stop doing that, get out of here.
Or I'll call the
they're
cops.
not customers. They're not doing anything on, productive on their property. And it's a property rights issue. Again, we always talk about this. It comes down to property rights.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean ban homeless people or ban being homeless, but if they're actually taking an action that is harming someone in
Sure.
some way and harming someone's business by harassing their customers I would consider that harming someone. So they would have every right to handle that problem.
I
And
agree.
I don't mean
That's
take
a
them out
great
back.
analogy. I think
come
I-
across-
You're right. Here's the thing, Mark. Where do you see the direction of drug policy heading?
I think it certainly seems to be heading in the right direction. I mean, the marijuana thing is obviously the biggest one right now that we're seeing a lot of substantive gains on. A lot of states are legalizing it in many ways. It's funny because California was kind of the trailblazer on this, where I live, and they were the first to come up with medical marijuana and this whole idea of changing the law to allow medical use, which in reality allows almost anyone to use it. But
Right.
but now we're kind of behind the times because now you've got Washington and Colorado and other places that are just fully legalizing it, and now suddenly California is like backwards because you got to go get a license and everything. So,
Sure.
But I think the trend is definitely going in the right direction. I think there is going to be a vote to legalize in California in 2016, and I think that it's just going to be a trend across the nation. I don't know if every state's going to legalize it, but it also seems that there's a sort of a movement in the federal government to scale back on it too. Even in a bipartisan way, Rand Paul and Cory Booker introduced a bill to just stop the federal government from basically enforcing marijuana laws, essentially, at least when it comes to medical use. And I think it should be for all use, but it's a big step. It's a huge step, especially when anybody can have their doctor hopefully write them something, and now they don't need to go to jail.
And here's a weird thing, Mark, is I'm not a marijuana user, but I support a user's rights to use. You know what I mean?
And there's a bunch of stuff I don't use that I support.
Right.
I support everyone's right to use.
You know what I mean?
I think people probably assume that sometimes. They think, oh, these stoners here, they just want everyone to high.
I'm not a stoner, and I think it's do what you want to do. It's
I'm
not
a
my
heroin user, but I still don't want to toss people into jail for using it.
No, me neither. But I don't like tea, but I shouldn't ban tea. I really don't like tea. I think tea sucks, but I like coffee. But
I want to ban
like tea.
Kahlua. I think it's gross.
What's that?
I want to ban Kahlua. I think it's gross. Like everyone can pick out little things that they think are bad, but at the end of that, that's why that's what I want to get to actually here, because in many ways the war on drugs seems to be winding down in some ways, in the sense of the public seems to be changing their views, at least as it comes to marijuana. But my concern is that maybe the public is changing their views because they're realizing marijuana is not that bad and it has medical uses and all that, and that's good. That's a good thing.
But that's not really the reason, though. It shouldn't be the reason.
Now, maybe they're not really getting it for the right reason. They're not changing their views because they suddenly believe in individual rights and they suddenly believe everybody owns their own body.
Right.
So that's what I want to go back and focus on. So whenever we talk about marijuana on our website and the legalization movement, I always try to bring it back into, but let's not get too excited, guys, because we really got to change the philosophy of the people to really see things move, or else they're just going to replace marijuana with something else they want to ban.
It's the principle, not the actual marijuana itself. And they've been sold on this whole situation. Marijuana is safer than alcohol. It could be. Maybe it is. I'm not 100% sure on the data. It could be. But that's not the reason to legalize it.
I was gonna say, it's all relative. It's all about the situation. You're an ex-pilot. You probably wouldn't think it's a good idea to just, go do a bong hit and go flying around. So, that sense, marijuana was probably really dangerous. But,
right.
A guy on his couch eating Cheetos, smoking a joint probably isn't gonna hurt anyone.
It's not gonna hurt anyone, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's just Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction in Northwest only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
Thanks, Johnny. Hey, everybody, check out The Haunted Heel, the Texas Rockabilly Retro and Rock one-stop shop for all your vintage clothing and nostalgic gear. Check out www.thehauntedheel.com. Type in Johnny Rocket for 10% off your clothing order or merchandise order.
And then my voice of reason, the beautiful Heather Nixon.
Hey, thank you. And make sure and check us out on Facebook/JR Launchpad and listen to all our past podcasts at jrlp.podbean.com.
And this is Johnny Rocket, and the Johnny Rocket radio show is for liberty. Unlike the commercial radio shows, we have no corporations supporting us. You are our sponsors. Help us make the show bigger. Go to johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com. Take out your wallet. Go to the upper right portion of this home screen under the tab More. Donate $25, $75, $100 to support us. It's a small amount to help us inform thousands of people. It was Johnny Rocket. We're going to be right back. We got more Marc Clair from linesofliberty.com. We'll be right back.